This is for the girl, golden girl, God's child. Head up, wear your crown and smile. This is for the girls all over the world. Let me hear you. And don't forget it either.
Hello, and welcome back to All That Is Considered. I am your host, Valerie, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Whether you are watching us, you're part of the family, or this is your first time, welcome. If you are not part of the family, go ahead and subscribe so that you can catch the rest of these videos. If you're mobile, join us on Apple, Spotify. The world is joining us. DR is watching. Brazil is watching. Japan is watching. I think that's the newest country that I've seen today. So share with a friend, share with a neighbor, wherever they might be. And I'm sure that the Lord has something for them as well. All right. So without further ado, I'm super excited to get started. We've already started the podcast. Before we added y'all in. Okay. So we're going to add y'all in the chat in just a second. But I have a really, really, really amazing guest that I want to introduce to you guys. Welcome to All That Is Considered. Oh man, I'm so excited that you're here. It's been a long time coming.
It has been. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, to be with you, to have this sisterly conversation. I am Luctresa J, Raphael. There's so much to my name. I'm an author. I am a wife. Been a wife for almost 6 years now. I'm a recovery coach. I'm a registered behavior tech. I also tutor and babysit those. That's how I help the community, just giving back like that.
Yeah.
There's so much. There's so much to say. Love working with the youth and young adults. I love God. He saved me from so much, so I owe him my life.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just an honor to be here. So I'm ready to get into this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I'm super ready. And we have a really, I think Oliver, they're probably gonna be like, you say this every episode. I'm really excited about being able to cover topics that we usually cover. Like, we brush under the table or like we're a little uncomfortable to get into, because I feel like a lot of us ignore the conversations that actually bring us closer together, because we don't realize how much we're all in one way or another struggling with some of the same things.
Correct.
So today we're talking about the hard to love daughter. And I think when we say hard to love, I think people's minds go immediately to relationships, which is a big part of it. I think sometimes that's where a lot of people identify that they were hard to love. But it usually starts from way before. And there were little signs in different areas of, our lives. But it's a very frustrating place to be in.
Absolutely.
Because on one hand, you might feel like, this is who I am. I can't help it. And on the other hand, there is that part of you that keeps reminding you that you don't have to be like this, forever. So I'm super excited to talk about this. What do you think about our topic today?
When you first sent me the topic, I was like, hard to love daughter. And I'm like, did I ever feel like I was hard to love? And like you said, something so perfect. Like, I always tied it to relationship, right? But when you think about hard to love, it can be a general statement, whether it be relationship, friendship, family, workplace, whatever it may be. It's like that person that people tend to feel like it's hard to get along with. It's hard to commit to. It's hard to be friends with. It's hard to be loyal to. You understand? Stuff like that. And so I'm actually excited on how we're going to navigate and dive into this topic. But I really feel like it's going to set a lot of people free, where they now have a different perspective, where you were never really hard to love. It's just people didn't have the capacity to love you the way you needed to be loved.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, so I'm super excited to get into this. So what does hard to love daughter mean to you personally?
Hard to love daughter to me personally means for so long I misconstrued being hard to love with being misunderstood. Yeah. Being hard to love with being misunderstood. And so from there, being misunderstood, I identified it with being hard to love because nobody would understand me.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Then where that misunderstanding also ties into going to a space of silence. Why speak if I'm going to be misunderstood? You understand what I'm saying? And so in those moments, everything I did or everything I said, it just was not right, but that was from a survival mindset, right? That was from a survival perspective, survival lens, instead of looking at it from a place of maybe these people just didn't have capacity to handle my wounds. Maybe I didn't explain myself in a way to be understood.
Yeah.
You see how I kind of like balanced it out? Because it's so easy to get in that mindset of, when you're in that mindset of hard to love, it's so easy to get in the mindset of blaming people and not recognizing, well, maybe you could have handled it differently.
Yeah.
You could have said it differently. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I really like that you brought up the survival mindset because I think probably a huge part of this is identifying that the mindset that you have is actually not okay.
It's not.
And it doesn't help that, like, I feel like our culture supports certain things that are to our detriment, especially as it pertains to survival mindset. I know for me, the idea of being hard to love kind of started the opposite. So I could relate a lot to the girl in the letter. Because, I feel like as a Haitian daughter, that's kind of how you're taught, do what you're told, go to school, come home, get your work done. Don't talk back. If you're upset about something, don't be. And that's pretty much it. And it wasn't until like I was like listing topics for ADC that I thought about sometimes you performing in that way is because you feel like you're hard to love.
Absolutely.
And for me, I think that mindset then triggered other survival methods. Like, okay, it's not, now that I know, it's not that I was overgiving or performing or overextending myself for somebody who didn't deserve it. I felt like, okay, well, it doesn't matter what I do. Just people reject me or don't receive what I'm giving them.
Yeah.
So let me just get harder.
Yeah.
Let me just be mean. Let me just no longer be a lover girl. I can't do that anymore. I've been delivered from that. I know I can't be, I'm a lover girl. It is what it is. But now, before accepting that and not qualifying that as a weakness, I was in a state of mind of, well, I mean, I was a kid. I went into the world with a childish mindset, and the world is not like that. So I just have to grow up with the rest of the world, not realizing that I was nourishing just whatever little internal thought of me being hard to love was. So, like, how does one differentiate between a survival
mindset,
coping mechanism and, like a right mind?
Differentiating the two from a survival pattern, a survival mindset to I will call it safe mindset.
Yeah.
Will require healing.
Yeah.
And that healing will come from, like you were saying earlier, being able to identifying where did it start?
Yeah.
Where did I get into this place of surviving instead of just being safe? You understand? A little transparency. Mine started first. There were two, I can remember two situations that happened in my life that just triggered those survival mindsets, and me being misunderstood, me not being heard, me feeling hard to love. And the first one was at 8 when I was molested. I remember just fast forwarding to the day that I recognized what was happening to me wasn't supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
So I remember going back to that house, and the guy tried to touch me, and I kind of shifted his hand.
Yeah.
And he was appalled by it.
Right.
What's the problem now?
Yeah.
You know? And I remember saying, I don't think you're supposed to be doing this. And I don't want you touching me. And he was like, well, don't think about telling anyone, because they're not going to believe you because you're ugly.
Wow.
So that now planted a seed of insecurity, but then planted a seed of keeping my mouth shut because nobody would believe me. Right? Ooh. Fast forward, I'll never forget when, the culture that we're from, Haitian household, my mother is a believer and my father is an unbeliever. And so even with that mindset, it was kind of like I was trying to live up to two different morals, two different values. What my mother cared about, my father didn't care about. What my father cared about, my mother didn't care about. And so here I am trying to fight for the love and the validation of both parents.
Yeah.
And I remember being 12, I want to say 12, 13, and I was outside with a boy, to teenage years. So I'm already aware my father's a strict guy, whatever the case may be. So I'm taking precaution. You understand? And the boy I was talking to, he was like a neighborhood boy. And so we were literally on the staircase near my apartment. You could see us.
Yeah.
I'm doing things safely.
Yes.
I'm not being sneaky because I know how sneaky this look, right? And literally, you would have thought that I was being sneaky by the way my father treated me. Literally, like, he saw us, and then when I got into house, who told me go in the house? When I got into the house, like, he literally, like, jacked me up. Jesus. And not only did he jack me up, but then he called me out my name.
Yeah.
And when I say out my name, out my name, literally. From there, it was like, it planted that seed. I can't do nothing right. Because here I am. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm in front of the house.
You were doing it the way
I thought I was the way he
acceptable.
Acceptable and pleasing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. And that planted a seed from there. Sneakiness. Doing things rebellious.
Yeah.
I grew rebellious. Everything that he said that I wasn't, I began to live up to it. And that's why they say, life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Come on.
Because his words, especially a man that I value, my father, framed my world. Though I didn't think it did, when I look back at it now, it did.
Yeah.
Right? And so now I'm literally in a space of survival pattern, survival mode, survival mindset, where everything I did, how I responded, how I reacted in circumstances in my life at the time were from a survival place, was from a place to defiance, rebellion, because I didn't care to, though I thought I wasn't people pleasing, I really was, but in my mind, I wasn't people pleasing because at this point, I can't satisfy nobody.
Yeah.
But really, I was. You understand what I'm saying? And what led me to that safety was coming into Christ, right? Identifying the root of rejection, identifying the root of people pleasing, identifying the root of my negative coping and responses, and finding healing in those spaces that still needed healing. And then that's when I started to look at things from a safety point of view. And that safety point of view is being able to understand that I was forgiven, being able to understand that I am loved, being able to understand that scripture of when my mother and my father forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Being able to understand that nothing can separate me from his love. understanding those put me in a safety component where I started to look at things, my decision makings, how I responded from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's beautiful. But that journey of dismantling or, taking apart that survival mindset.
Yes.
And like receiving,
yes.
The right mindset, the safe mindset.
Yes.
So in the process of unpacking, how do you navigate your desire to be loved, to be wanted? Even like for some, there's this term now that didn't exist when I was younger, but it's called being touch starved.
Being who?
Touch starved. So like people, there's literally like studies now about even hugs. How much getting a certain amount of hugs a day can actually like
heal you. You're right about
extend
that.
your life, like your heart health.
Yeah, I heard that.
Because apparently there is an epidemic of people not receiving enough touch, innocent touch. How do you navigate that while you're trying to, heal unhealthy patterns? Yeah. Because I think a big part of the persona that covers somebody who's defined as hard to love is that they don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that they're hard to love; they don't need it.
Yeah.
Deep down inside,
they
that's not true. They do need it. They might need more, than maybe another person. But because of whatever circumstances of life they were in, or for some people, the role that they had to assume in life. I know a lot of firstborns struggle with that. They just were unfortunately not, they didn't feel like they had the freedom to express that need. So now that they want to free themselves from that, how do they navigate that, but in a healthy way?
Navigating through that in a healthy way, well, first, going back to identify, you must first identify the unhealthy way.
Yeah.
So you don't repeat it. If you don't identify the unhealthy way, you will never be able to see the healthy way. You have to come out of agreement, identify that unhealthy way, come out of agreement with it, and then now learn a new way, which is the healthy way. But then not just the healthy way, but being okay with the healthy way.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? Because when something has been going on for so long, unhealthy, that now becomes the norm. So when something healthy now is trying to happen in your life or needs to happen in your life, it can become unfamiliar and brings about a signal flag to unsafe.
Oh, wow. That's really good.
Because what's unhealthy has become my norm. So when something new is trying to happen in my life, which is healthy now, there's a signal like, I don't know this. I don't, this is unknown to me. But when you are in the process of healing, first, in the mind, there's a mindset shift. Then you'll become more aware that, okay, you ease out of that unhealthy pattern and you slowly take your time into that healthy pattern. You understand? And that takes a daily work. That takes being intentional. That takes intentional means to choose whether you are comfortable with it or not. But because it needs to happen, you make that decision to choose that healthy pattern. How to navigate through that, you must first be okay with it.
I feel like it's so simple. But like,
simple.
if that's something that
sounds simple.
It sounds simple, but it's not simple. Like,
it's not simple.
If you're a person that has like struggles with that, like, that's not easy to do.
But that's why I said there has to be a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Because if you truly desire that healthy way, you would take the necessary steps to embrace it. That's what it is. To embrace it. Embracing doesn't always feel good. Because you're unlearning something to learn something new. That process of unlearning and learning, it's cringy.
Yeah.
It's painful. It's a rewiring that happens. And for the most part, for me personally, that couldn't happen by myself. It happened with accountability. Mm-hmm. And that accountability, oh my gosh, I love accountability, because that accountability will keep you intact, because these are the people that have your best interest at heart, that know where you've been, and that know your future, you know, where you're trying to go, and they help you navigate through those things. So it's kind of like, hey Val, like, look, like, you know, I find myself, you know, going back to this state of mind, you know, back in this posture, back in this response, you know, and this is where you come in and you're like, look, I know it's not easy. Mm-hmm. I know it doesn't feel good, but you got it. You got this. Look how far you've come. You know, that reminder, those little nuggets, you know. So accountability is one of the best ways to navigate from what was to what is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, along that same vein, here's a question that I think a lot of people ask. I know I've asked. How honest can you be with people who are your accountability partners? That sounds like a weird question, but I think for people who struggle with vulnerability, it is a question that's always on our minds. How honest can I be with you? Because there is that fear in the back of your mind that I'm about to tell you something and you're never going to want to speak to me again, because that's, you know, deplorable, whatever I'm about to tell you, or, you know. So what do you think of that?
Honestly, that goes back to a safety thing.
Yeah.
You understand? It goes back to a mindset thing. And I tell anybody and everybody, before you even think about being vulnerable with someone, be first vulnerable with God. Mm-hmm. My vulnerability started in my journals. It started in my journals. Then as I was vulnerable in my journals, he started to show me who I can be safe with. Who I can be vulnerable with, or who's safe for me. You understand what I'm saying? And the Bible says you know them by their fruit. Mm-hmm. And so the evidence of that is me opening up to you and realizing not just your accountability, but realizing that you don't treat me according to what I just told you.
Yeah.
Realizing that I didn't hear back what I just told you.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And usually that happens through the test of time.
Yeah.
You know, because you know them by their fruit.
Yeah.
And so now I am watching, you understand, by how you treat me, what's being said, you know, the people you accompany yourself with, how they treat me, you know, and I'm not saying observe those things from a place of paranoia, but praying and watching.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, that's really it. You do not be vulnerable with nobody just like, there's no way just because somebody is safe with you, I should feel like, oh, I'm safe. I still gotta pray about it.
You still have to pray about it.
I still gotta pray
because
about it.
There's no telling that person has the capacity for you.
For you. Exactly.
I think that's important. But I feel like somebody who is struggling with vulnerability needed to hear that.
Yeah.
First, being vulnerable with God is a big one. I remember I was telling somebody that I remember when I was really young and I did something that I felt like I shouldn't have done, or something I shouldn't have done. I didn't pray. I came to church. I sang, like, you know, my seed, but I didn't pray because I felt like God didn't want to hear me because you know what I did.
Yeah, yeah.
And it took literally me going through certain things with God for him to literally be in moments where I felt like I was at my lowest, for him to be like, okay, here you are, and I still love you. I'm waiting for you to, anytime you're ready to come and tell me about, you know, I'm still a just God. I'm still a righteous God. It's not okay, maybe the things that you're doing. That doesn't mean I don't want to hear from you. That doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean I'm not waiting to, like, you know, restore you.
And I love that, what you said. It's just to piggyback a little bit. I literally was in that situation, like, because we think just because everybody in church, everybody's safe.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You understand? And I remember opening up to certain people, and I realized when growth started to happen in my life, they held what I said in vulnerability against me.
Yeah.
Like what was happening in my life wasn't deserved.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Or if I responded a certain way, it was like, oh, yeah, that's her. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's why it is so vital, you know, to pray first. Because truth be told, like you said, God ain't never tell me to tell them.
Yeah.
I just felt like because these people were in close proximity, they were safe. No. You have to pray about everything.
Oh.
Everything.
Wow. So, along that same vein of managing your desires and your feelings, have you ever been in a place, like, while you were, you know, relearning a better mindset, where you craved intimacy, not necessarily physical, but just intimacy, and when it was available, you pulled away?
Yes.
How did you navigate that?
Well, first,
how do you identify the patterns before that happens?
I must say the first part is I craved intimacy and I knew it was available, but I pulled away is because of fear.
Yeah.
Fear to be let down, fear to be betrayed, fear, you know, all that type of stuff. Identifying, you said, how did I identify the pattern?
Yeah, so once you realize, okay, this is what I, like, this is what I do, or this is how I think, right before I make a certain decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That came through recovery. Like I said earlier, y'all, I'm a recovery coach. So that came through renewing my mind in him.
Yeah.
Romans 12:2. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind daily.
Yeah.
So, once again, if I'm trying to break out of a pattern, a cycle, a mindset, I have to renew my mind daily in him. One of the things I realized was a lot of my survival patterns and responses were literally doing more damage than good for my growth, for my healing. Self-sabotage, literally. And so if I wanted the things that I desired, the things that I was praying about, it's like they would come in my hand and then they would leave my hand, right? Find myself 10 steps forward and then 20 steps backwards. Those were all because of survival patterns and a survival mindset. And in order to deal with those things and break those things, I had to keep my mindset in a state of renewal. So I don't respond the same way. So I don't behave the same way. So I can create new habits in order to grow, in order to heal, in order to not remain stuck. And so one of the things I had to do, especially now being married, I was so used to having things go my way, right? Doing things my way, you know, like ain't no stopping me. That was a survival pattern. Remember, it started with rebellion. Yeah. So I dated, or I was in situationships like that where I dated rebellious guys, you know, street guys. You understand what I'm saying? And so there was really no issue because we the same type of people. So there was no problem. Exactly. So now getting married and dealing with certain things, I still couldn't do what I want. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. Because now I'm in God. Not only that I'm in God, but now I've made a covenant before him. And so little things that would transpire, you know, that things that trigger my emotions, I couldn't respond a certain way. I couldn't react a certain way because I've made a covenant before God. And so these are the things that cause me now to identify patterns, to identify my triggers, and respond, asking God to help me respond differently. What does that look like? Because I'm so used to responding a certain way, you know. And what I had to learn was what we think is right isn't righteous.
Oh, that's really good. Say that again.
What we think is right isn't righteous. How is my response pleasing God? Watch this. Not myself. Not my husband. but God. And so this is why I now had to break the pattern, because now I have a responsibility to respond the righteous way, a way that does not bring a reproach to the kingdom, because now I'm married. So now my response can either bring my husband closer to God,
or push him
away from God. And so this is where now, and what I mean by that is, like, if he's the one that's trying to show me intimacy, right, which at moments it was him, if I push him away, I can now plant a seed of rejection. I can now plant a seed of abandonment. You understand? Which is certain things that he once dealt with. I'm now opening a door because I'm responding in a negative way, if that makes sense. You understand what I'm saying? And so being able to identify those patterns and break those patterns, was it easy? Absolutely not. But asking God to help me navigate, help me respond differently, is what helped me.
Oh, wow. So in the vein of understanding, like, your mindset, how your nervous system reacts to new things that you're introducing, and your survival patterns. When you started to, because at the point of your testimony that you were speaking about earlier, you were already married.
Yeah.
So how were you able to navigate that, maintaining your marriage and also, like, understanding your survival behaviors, your triggers, and how that's contributed so far? Because I'm sure it's not just, single daughters that are watching. I'm sure there are wives or mothers that are mothering children that are realizing, oh no, like, I'm actually reproducing things that I saw when I grew up that I told myself I would never do.
Yeah.
So how were you able to maintain your marriage and
heal? Transparency. I wouldn't have room to heal if I wasn't honest with my husband.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because if I'm over here trying to heal and then he's over here still triggering me, or him not understanding why I'm acting a certain way, whatever the case may be, then there would be no healing. There would be no transformation, because I'm constantly in this cycle. But then if I'm transparent with where I'm at and what I need to deal with, first with God and then taking it to him. Yeah. Because we're now one, then I now have room to heal. And I just thank God for his heart for God. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Because him having a heart for God gave me grace. Gave me grace to heal. Gave me grace to recover. Gave me grace to deal with the things and him not holding it against me.
Wow, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the ugliest of ugliest. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's your husband. He's not going to see the day night version of you.
Exactly. He sees all parts of me. Yeah. And what I love is that, like I said, he gave me room, grace to heal. And that is what we need, I believe, in every aspect of our lives, is someone that gives us room and grace to heal, that doesn't throw it in our face, that doesn't feel like, when growth does begin to happen, you're not deserving of it. Yeah. You understand? Because I even paid attention to that when things begin to happen in my life while healing, how he treated me. Yeah. And he treated me as if I deserved it. He didn't treat me as if I was still broken. Yeah. He treated me from a healed state. Yeah. Though I was still broken. You hear me? Yeah. He treated me from a healed state, though I was still broken. Wow. In some of the darkest moments of my life, he treated me as if I was already healed. And so these are things that help me remember why it's vital to heal. It keeps me in that wheel, WHEEL, of healing. Because there's somebody that needs my healing. You understand what I'm saying? There's a generation that needs my healing. There's a bloodline that needs my healing. There's him who needs my healing because it was also impactful to him. It helped him heal in areas in his life. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes you got to be, I wouldn't say the guinea pig. I'm not going to say the guinea pig, but sometimes you got to be the example.
The example, yeah.
The example.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to pull your... It's slipping back. It looks like... But I don't know if you...
Oh, no,
I don't want you to look back at it.
Let me
She could have told me that.
It feels like it is, but...
It still looks good.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Okay. All right. So, in the process of healing, sometimes shame kind of shows up. I was talking to another guest. She was talking about how she would go back in her prayer journals from like 2016 and like reread them. And she's like, "Oh God, like I can't believe I wrote, about this guy here, like, or like, I can't believe I told you that. Like, what was I thinking? Like, that was crazy." And it was like a jovial moment, but there are very serious moments where you're like, "Oh my gosh, how could I have allowed myself to do this or become this person or live like this or whatever?" So as you heal, how do you give grace to yourself? I find that it's easier
to
give grace to others and not to yourself.
And not to self. But watch this. How are you able to give grace to others and you can't give grace to yourself?
Oh.
You cannot give what you don't have. Because at some point, you're not going to be able to give that grace. For right now, you give it. But let them do something else.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It's always a limit. And so until you understand the grace that was given to you, you are able to give it to yourself and then extend it to others.
Yeah.
Watch this. I said understand. Because we could know. Yeah, we know grace was given to us. Look at us now. But do you understand the grace that was given to you? And that understanding comes from looking at the depthness of a situation.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to look at the surface. Oh, yeah, he saved me from that. He saved me from that. But the depthness of it, when he shows you the depthness of that situation, you understand what I'm saying? I'll never forget. I love saying this side of my testimony. Simply because I now understand the depthness of it. Prior to my marriage, I was like in in-between state. Okay. This was around COVID time. And so there was my husband and then there was another person in the picture. And that was simply because, I wanted what I wanted. I wanted what I wanted. And, but there was a destiny decision that had to be made.
Wow.
There was a counterfeit and then there was the one God sent. You know, and because the one that God sent, there was so much going on, so much friction, it got discouraging. It got disappointing. It reminded me of the past relationships that I went through. So it was triggering. Which caused a red flag to this. Compared to the counterfeit, because it was already a part of what I knew, I felt safe here.
Oh, wow.
Right? Fast forward, I decided to make a decision, and me and my husband started courting, going to counseling, premarital counseling and everything. And because I still had this rebellion state, this stubborn state, I wanted what I wanted. I was comfortable here. There was a question my husband asked in premarital counseling, and at that time we were in a kind of like hard place. Premarital counseling, he was like, if I was to ask you, this was our last, not knowing this was our last session.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I said this was, you're going to understand why I said this was our last session, is because he said, if I was to ask you to marry me now, what would you say? And I was like, no. And I said it with a whole attitude, not knowing a couple days later he was about to propose.
Oh, wow.
My husband is very romantic, spontaneous. So one day he just was like, I set your appointment, go get your hair done. You know, I'm taking you on a surprise date. That's him. That's his MO.
Yeah.
So that's just what we did. And part of it was him probably making up, because we were in that hard place, right?
Yeah.
And that was the day he was getting ready to, that was the day he was proposing. And I tell everybody this, that the day I said yes was beyond, everybody, like, when people say yes, it's like because they're in love, this, that, whatever the case may be. My yes was about destiny. And when I said yes to my husband, I knew it, like I said, it was about destiny. I had to make a destiny decision, and that's why I said yes. And not only that, it was God literally giving me another chance to say yes to him.
Wow.
Right?
Elaborate on that.
The reason I say yes to him, because like I said, I wanted what I wanted, so I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, the counterfeit was my past.
Yeah.
When I was outside, when I was in the world. And my husband was my future.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And so it was no longer, it was like a choose ye this day.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
You understand? And you're about to understand why. Once I said yes, first of all, he proposed to me on Halloween. And you're laughing, but I was just like, bruh, out of all the days, why would you pick this day? And, what I'm about to say, I promise y'all, it was not made up. It was not rehearsed. My husband is not the type of person to try to sway me in. He's not that type. But he literally said to me, because I was serious. I was like, out of all the days, why would you pick Halloween? And he said to me, number one, I wouldn't have guessed, which is true.
That's true.
But number two is he had to serve hell a notice about my life.
Wow.
Because he knew.
Wow.
He knew where I was. One thing about it, we have this transparent relationship that we've been like that since we were friends. Because we were friends for 5 years prior to us dating and then marrying. You understand? And so he knew where I was mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this was someone who literally went after my life, my soul, my destiny.
Wow.
Out of the obedience of God, right? And so from there, we moved forward. He had a book he proposed October 31st, 2020. He had getting ready to release a book in December 2020. And I remember hearing the Lord in the month of November saying for us to get married prior to him releasing this book. And so nobody knew about the engagement. And then we got married. I believe I didn't display the engagement till a couple of days before our marriage, right? And I remember the counterfeit sending me a picture of myself around candles. We all know what that is, right?
Not woo.
Yeah. And so he was just like, I know you didn't get engaged on me. You gonna make me go to the woo lady on you. Me personally, yes, I know it's real, but I didn't take it serious. I ain't gonna lie to you. I didn't. And the reason I didn't take it serious was because I was just like in the state of, in a sense, like, that woo ain't gonna touch me.
Right.
Like, that was my mindset. And I'll never forget, crossing over to 2021, about 3 months later, January 1st, I remember having a dream about him, the counterfeit. And the thing what people don't understand is, like, when we make decisions based off negative coping mechanisms, survival patterns, we tie ourselves with people, places, and things. We come into agreement spiritually, not just naturally, but spiritually as well. And so there's a tie that happens in the realms of the spirit, where though you think you're moving forward, but then we find ourselves going back to our exes, thinking about our exes, this, that, whatever the case may be, because there's a tying in the realms of the spirit. And I'll never forget, every now and then I will go through it with my husband, and who I'm thinking about, the counterfeit. This me being real. You know me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I remember praying to God, like, you gonna have to take this.
Right. Because it's in the way now.
Yeah, it's in the way now. And I don't want to get to a place where I dishonor my marriage.
Of course, yeah.
That's me being real, because I know me. And only Holy Spirit keeps me.
Yeah.
So Holy Spirit, I need you. I said that prayer and I was done. Unknowingly, 3 months later, he dies, the counterfeit. And I'll never forget crying in my car, heading to my church, asking God, what is this? Because I had the dream.
Yeah.
You understand? But I'm like, what is this? Like, I
didn't think you was going to do it like I didn't think it was going to be like this.
And then the prayer, that I did. And the Lord says loud and clear, yet gentle, I will go to the furthest extent to protect your destiny. All that to say this.
Oh, wow.
There's a depthness. There's a depthness in God. There's an understanding of his grace that I was talking about that happens when we go through things in our life where grace is no longer just surface, but you understand the depthness of his grace for you, that you are able to extend to yourself and then now to others. You hear me? That was nothing but his grace. God will literally take a life to spare yours. Look what he did to his son. An innocent life to spare ours. So now when you go back to the daughter that was hard to love, he didn't see it as that.
No.
He said, I'll go to the furthest extent for you.
Yeah.
I'll leave the 99 for the one.
Yeah.
That's what you call grace.
So your inability to extend grace to yourself is boils down to your lack of understanding of the depth of grace.
Correct.
Because you really don't know how far God will go for you.
You really don't know.
You
really don't know.
Wow.
You really don't know.
Ooh. Do you know how many... Oh my gosh. Do you know how much insecurity that understanding would heal? I just need to sit with that for a second.
It's real.
Wow.
When you belong to him, you belong to him.
Ugh.
There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You belong to him. That's why you'll have people say that he'll put you in rooms you don't belong in. He'll cause people to mention your name in rooms you don't belong in. Because you belong to him. And what I love is that scripture that says the earth is his footstool. That means everything is subject unto him.
Yeah.
And if we belong to him, can you imagine how far he'll go for you?
Oh my goodness.
And this is blessing me now. Honestly, even more. And that's what I love, having conversations like this about God and just about life and his grace alone. His grace, his mercy, his unconditional love alone. Alone.
Oh.
And so when the enemy, because it ain't us, the enemy tries to drown us in shame. The enemy tries to drown us in our mistakes, in our mishaps, in our disqualifications, and all that type of stuff. Nothing can overpower his grace and his unconditional love for us.
Oh my
Nothing.
gosh.
Nothing or no one.
Wow. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. You know what that's kind of making me think about?
Mm-hmm.
It's making me think about Eve in the garden when the serpent was speaking to her and telling her that if you eat this fruit, right, you'll be just like God. I don't think I've really seen it like this until right now, but the serpent was what the serpent was doing wasn't just manipulating her, like just making her do something, but like it placed in her an insecurity that she didn't have the capacity to identify. So her eating the fruit was from her place of feeling like of that inadequacy
And less than.
So if she understood the vastness of God, that one fruit that she couldn't eat wouldn't have been nothing.
Nothing.
He could literally make another tree.
Literally,
you
just
never
for
seen
you.
before, just because you wanted something
Just
different.
'cause.
But instead, the serpent had you focus on
The one thing.
what you felt like you didn't have,
Mm-hmm. And that's what. Think about it though.
what you really didn't not have.
Think about it though. That's the enemy's aim, to get us to focus first on the wrong thing. Remove our gaze off the bigger picture, which is God.
Wow.
The one who's all in one. The one, when it comes to him, is all or nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he makes us think that the path that the Lord requires of us to walk in is more so shrinking than it literally being the depthness of everything
Yeah.
that we can find in him. The Bible says, what? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness.
And all other things, all things
will be added on to us. All things. All you got to do is seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness. And everything else will be added on to you. So he's just like, you don't got to worry about nothing else. It'll be added on to you as long as you're seeking me, my kingdom, and in the path of righteousness.
Oh, wow.
But he has us so limited in our thinking, where it's rules and regulations and obligations, when literally the things we're supposed to be doing is supposed to be freely out of love because of his grace.
Wow.
Because of his grace.
Wow. Man. Oh. So, along the pathway of your healing, what is one pattern that you had to confront that was hard to admit, like a mindset that you had to like confront that was hard for you to let go of?
People pleasing.
Yeah.
And what I want to highlight is this: people pleasing looks different. Because people be like, well, I don't deal with that, I don't deal with that. But it looks different in different ways, right? And I recently realized that, I want to say the last year and a half, 2 years, though I always saw it, but I finally gained the courage to deal with it and literally cry on my carpet floor and God, deliver me from this. Because I realized how much it was suffocating my voice. Because it almost felt like everything I said caused me to lose people. But that suffocation all was killing me.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, Lord, like, I need to be delivered from this. And that's when he began to show me why it was still there. You know, the little things that were laying dormant. Because it's not to say that we're not delivered, but one of the things my husband would say is layers to healing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like an onion.
Yeah.
And so that's how I took my deliverance. I'm delivered, but then here's another layer, because where God is taking me, he needs to deal with, he's exposing another layer of what needs to be dealt with. Now that I have the capacity to deal with it. Because he's not going to do everything all at once.
Of course, yeah.
Because he know what we can handle.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was that. And so now and that's why I'm able to speak as freely as I do now about anything and everything. Because number one, God. Number two, my husband. You know, of course, there are certain things I discuss with him first. You know, even though he don't really care, but just out of respect.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and from there, it's like, I know I got the backing of God.
Yeah.
And so I have to do what I have to do, especially with the office that he's graced me and enabled me to walk in as a prophet.
Yeah.
I have a duty. I have a responsibility to speak on certain things. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or else it's on my hand.
Yeah. Oh, and the one that's I'm working through, I'll say, it's very hard. But I think for me, it's definitely people pleasing, but definitely hyper independence. And I didn't really think I didn't identify it as a problem until I had a surgery, and I went to go do like a scan literally the day after my surgery. So logically speaking, day after surgery means your body was just cut open. You are unable to do things that you could do before the surgery. And they laid me down on the CAT scan table, whatever that machine is called. And when they took me out of the machine, I obviously have to get up so they could put me back on the little. And I was telling my body to get up, but I couldn't get up. And I understood why I couldn't get up. But I felt like I was like overcome with this like shame. I couldn't even get up. Like, and then the nurse like this, she was like, you know, it's like, it's fine. Like, why are you crying? You just got a surgery. It makes sense that you cannot. But the way that my brain translated that was, you can't even do anything for yourself. Like, you can't even get up. Just get up. And that actually was like a super sobering moment for me, because I was like, I can't keep being this way. So I don't know. I think this is like first couple times I've ever like actually admitted that it's a problem, because I didn't think it was a problem. If I ask for help and I don't get the help, I just do it. And so then I just don't ask for help. I just did it. Until now that I realize it's something that I should fix.
I get that too. I totally understand that. And fixing that usually looks like, well, not, put it like this. I always say this: if God is highlighting something, especially now in your life, especially if it's back to back, it's because he wants to deal with it. Because now he realizes, he doesn't realize it, but he wants you to realize this is what's hindering whatever it is that you're praying for.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so, you know, dealing with that is going back to the root. Where did it start? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where were you hurt by that situation where now you put this defense mechanism on? Because it's part of a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's... So, in your reframing and your healing process, that comes with a lot of redefinition. How did you begin to redefine the things that you deserved in life or in love, in your interactions with people? What was one of the first things that God helped you redefine?
A love for myself. For so long, I allocated or I associated love with how people loved me.
Yeah.
You understand? And so once I disassociated that, it helped me to redefine love for myself by understanding who I am in him. Once I begin to understand who I am in him, I begin to embrace how he sees me and start to see myself as such. And love myself as such.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And when I say love myself as such, not in, his word is perfect, but I didn't love myself as such from a perfect place, but from how he loved me in my imperfections. You understand what I'm saying? So being able to see my imperfections and grow from it helped me love me.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Giving myself, even in those imperfect moments, giving myself grace to grow. Like, girl, you got this. You got out of that other situation, or you got out of that, that last pit.
Yeah.
You understand? I'm encouraging myself. You understand? Instead of looking for it from others. You know what I'm saying? Appreciating myself, valuing myself, taking myself out, treating myself.
Yeah.
You understand? Instead of trying to give it to others, expecting it back.
Yeah.
Nah. If I could do it for others, I could do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But watch this. It also checked me. My motive was wrong when I was doing it for others.
Yeah. Yeah, it was misplaced because you were looking for something. So you gave it, hoping you would get it back.
And so it challenged me to love me. So when I do things, I can do it from a genuine place.
Yeah. Well, that's really good.
Yeah.
So, I think there were different moments in our conversation that you answered this question, but I have two. What was one of the most defining ways that you feel like your relationship with God shifted seeing the way that you saw yourself? How you labeled yourself? Like, in the beginning of our conversation, you said that your definition, or the way that you saw hard to love, was being misunderstood. How has your relationship with God shifted that?
It kind of ties into what I just said recently. Being able to see myself in him.
Yeah.
You understand? And what the in-depth defining moment for that happened for me, once again, marriage. Because now, we go into marriage one way, and then now that you're in it, it shifts everything, because marriage is a mirror.
Oh.
You understand? And so you go in with a certain expectation. You go in with and when I say certain expectation, I'm talking about like, okay, now that we're married, you got someone to love you, you got someone this, that, whatever the case may be. But then if that's not what God intended for your marriage, then that's not what it's going to be.
Yeah.
In other words, there were moments where I didn't always feel seen. I didn't always feel loved. You get what I'm saying? Or I would voice certain things, and my husband would call out certain things. I'm like, you're mean, you're insensitive, you're this and you're that. And I'll never forget, he used to be like, you need to check your insecurities. And I'm like, I'm not insecure. You're the one who, and he would always say that. And then what I learned was, I don't remember how I got this revelation or realization, was I finally took him to prayer to check me. Because I was so used to, like, it's you.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, is it really me? So I went into a prayer differently, where I'm not praying about, oh, God, make him sensitive, this, that, whatever the case may be. Where it's now, God, if it is an insecurity within me, show me it. But if it isn't, allow him to see where he needs to adjust, whatever the case may be. You understand? So it caused my prayer to shift. And from there, like I said, because I shifted my prayers, there were moments God did show me. There were moments where God showed me it was a survival pattern. And I had to deal with it because it was causing me to respond a certain way. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Was there a particular moment that you feel like God challenged a specific label that you put on yourself? I'll give you an example. I think for me, I misunderstood that part of my existence here on earth is, or just a part of just a trajectory of my life is that I'm a fighter. My name literally means strong. And God has shown me my name very many times. But I didn't understand that in those, what I would consider fights is where, you know, I learned the most, or I grew the closest to God. I just call myself a failure. Why is it that I gotta jump through 15 hoops and do 57 things, and my neighbor just walked out the door, and we didn't, I didn't understand that until there was a particular season in my life that I was believing God for something, and finally, you know, he brought it, you know, into fruition. And I remember, just being super grateful to God, but I remember hearing inside of me, now you can't call yourself a failure. I felt like that was a very direct, yeah, I can't call myself that anymore. And I don't think I felt that way since then. Because I felt like that was a very direct, now you understand why you had to do X, Y, and Z. This is why it took you this long. Because there were specific instances within that situation that were very there were specific points on the timeline that I had to be delayed for a year here. And I had to be rejected here. I had to be rerouted back there, because if I went at the speed that I expected to, I would have missed this piece on it had to go that way.
It had to.
So that's mine. Yeah, so I could meet him, see that version of him. So what's yours?
I would say in this season of my life, he's breaking the definition of what a woman should be.
Wow.
Because for so long, I'm going to try to make this short, long story short. But for so long, I dealt with insecurities, right? And behind the scenes, I mean, you were talking earlier about PCOS.
Yes.
And I did not identify, I knew I had imbalanced hormones, but I didn't know the depthness of what that looked like till recently. I had symptoms, but I was never diagnosed.
It takes quite some time, especially for women of color, to really get a proper diagnosis. Correct.
So, but from young, I'm not going to say to old, but from a young age, you know, I was always picked on. You look like a boy, you look like a man. And then it didn't make it any better when excessive hair started to grow in areas they shouldn't be growing in.
You're right.
You understand what I'm saying? And, I mean, in reality, you see my siblings, you see my father, I look like my daddy's size. Strong features, you know, all that type of stuff. But those things literally caused me to question my identity.
Yeah.
Was I really meant to be a boy? You understand what I'm saying? And then now, long story short, growing into that caused me to people please. Yeah. Caused me to grow into a place of promiscuity, because I felt like I had to prove
that you were a woman.
That I was a woman.
Yeah.
So now, coming into God, I had this, women look like this, you know. Yeah. They have a certain look that's in my mind, right? And then coming to God, now being married and being unable to conceive, really put a dent.
Yeah.
And the Lord had to say, whether you become a mother or not does not define who you are as a woman.
Yeah.
So I'm still swallowing that pill.
Yeah.
But it felt good to hear that.
Of course. Yeah.
But I'm still swallowing that pill.
Yeah. I think it's something, because the messaging around us does not make it any better. Culturally, that doesn't make it any better.
It doesn't.
Societally, we all got timelines. We all got, markers that we thought,
Right.
But,
and so,
yeah.
I show up for her, in other words, me, in different ways to cater to the woman in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So, what would you say to a woman that's watching that feels like she's too far gone, that she's too broken to be loved, she can't be fixed? What would you tell her?
First of all, that devil is a liar.
Right.
Right. And I said it before, one of the identifying pieces in scriptures that has kept me and still keeps me is nothing can separate us from his love, not even our brokenness.
Yeah.
As I said before, God will go to the furthest extent to protect our destiny. In other words, he'll go to the furthest extent for us. You understand what I'm saying? One of the scriptures, verses I love in Psalms 136, it said he remembered us in our lowest state. Oh, I love that.
Wow. Yeah.
I love that because he does. Another scripture says, even when we make our bed in hell, whatever that hell looks like for you,
come on,
he's there.
He's there. Where can I go that you won't see me?
Where can I go that you won't see me? So that is my reminder to you. You are never too far gone. The thing is, you just need to see yourself how he sees you. The moment you are able to see yourself how he sees you, you may not be able to see it in depth, but as long as you can see that glimpse, you're never too far gone. You're never too far gone. And like I said, another defining scripture was, even when my mother or father forsake me, the Lord receives me. He'll take me up. I don't just base it on mother or father, whatever circumstance that has left you abandoned, that has left you rejected, that has left you in that state of being too far gone and forgotten.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. There goes God taking you up. There goes God ready to receive you. So remember, you're loved. Remember, you're chosen. Remember, you're the apple of his eye. You are considered far more precious than rubies. That's how he views us. And so today, that's how I need you to view yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you can view yourself that way, then your life can make a difference in someone else's world, just like mine did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this was such a great conversation.
Yes, it was.
Where do tell us a little bit about Recovery Mode and where the people can reach you.
Recovery Mode is my coaching program / mentorship program. We have a group session going on right now, and that's for 12 weeks. And then, of course, there is one-on-one sessions available. There's 3 months packages and 6 months packages. You all can find me on Luctresa J. Raphael on all platforms. And then I do have a Recovery Mode community group on WhatsApp, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So they can find me there.
Definitely. And I will, as usual, leave the information in the caption, the description box, so you guys can connect with her. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
I know that if nobody else heard this conversation, I know I needed it. So thank God for letting him use you. This is All That Is Considered. This is episode 8, 9. Wow. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, share it with somebody. And yeah, I love you guys. Bye.
Bye.